Greetings, I'm Professor K, and in this short video presentation, we're going to see how we go about building an IIS website using Server 2016. In this demonstration, we'll be using PowerShell to install the IIS role very quickly. So, to begin this process, let's go to the Start button, and from the Tile menu, select Windows PowerShell. Now we're going to insert the following command, install-Windows feature, space dash name is the switch, space we're going to install the web dash server feature, and we're going to give that a space, and we want to include the management tools, so we're going to type in dash include management tools. When we're all ready, we just hit enter and it starts the installation process, and when it gets done we will have installed IIS very quickly using just this one command. So once the IIS role has completed its installation process, close out the PowerShell console and open up your Server Manager. And up there at the top, let's go to Tools, and we're going to click on Internet Information Services Manager. Go ahead and open that up. Let's go ahead and make this full screen. And over at the top, you see the name of your server. Go ahead and expand that. And underneath there, you have two containers. One is the Applications pool, and the other one is the Sites container. Go ahead and expand your Sites container. And you'll see that you already have a default website built for you. So currently we don't have any content inside of our default website. And if we go over here to the right window pane, underneath Actions, you can click on Basic Settings, and you can see where this default content is normally located. It's up inside of the system root, inside of a folder called inetpub, and then inside of another subfolder called www root. What we're going to do now is we're going to create some default content up inside of this www root folder. So let's go down to our File Explorer. Let's go ahead and open that up. And we're going to go to the root of our C drive. And we're going to go to that inetpub. And there's our www root folder. Now inside here we can create that default content that we want to appear when somebody logs on to our IIS website for the first time. So let's go ahead and just right click inside this white area. And let's create a new text document. We have to give this new text file a name, so let's just call this My New Website. So I'm just going to type in here real quick, mynewwebsite.txt. So I've given this new default document a good user-friendly name, and I'm going to call it mynewwebsite.txt. And what we have to ensure is that we only have one extension. To do this, we can go up here to View, and over here, we have to make sure that this box is checked where it says File Name Extensions. We want to make sure that the file name extensions are being shown so that we don't have .txt. So make sure that you do that, and you do this each time that you create a new default document for your website. We don't have anything inside of our new website.txt file, so we're just going to open this up, just double click it, and I'm going to type in something here that's going to appear when somebody opens up the website for the first time. I'm just going to type in welcome to my new website. So this is going to be my welcome message when somebody logs on to our server for the first time. This is what they're going to see. I'm going to go ahead and close this out. I'll save my changes. And I'm going to go ahead and close out my File Explorer, and let's return over to our IIS manager. So I'm back over here in my IIS server, and you'll see that the default path now starts to make sense. Up inside that www root folder, we created a new default document. Now I have to tell IIS that that's the default document I want it to present when somebody accesses our web server. So I'm going to go ahead and say OK to this. And up here inside of the center window pane, go ahead and open up your default documents. And we're now going to add that default document by going over here to the right menu underneath Actions and click on Add. Now I have to type in the name of that default document exactly as I typed it inside of the File Explorer. So now I've typed in that file name that we created up inside of that www root folder exactly as it was spelled. Now I'm going to go ahead and say OK to that. Once you're done configuring the new default document, you'll notice that it goes to the top of the list, letting you know that that is going to be the document the web server is going to use when someone accesses the web server for the first time. I've changed machines. I've gone over to my domain controller, which I have DNS running on, And now we're going to go make some changes, and to do this we're going to go to Tools and we're going to go to DNS. To ensure that we have name resolution for our new IIS server, we're going to need to create a new domain up inside of our forward lookup zone. So let's go ahead and expand our forward lookup zones. I'm now going to right click at the top folder and I'm going to select New Zone, and this will start the New Zone wizard. Go ahead and click Next. And on this next page, we want to go ahead and accept the default for the primary zone, but we do not want to store this zone in Active Directory, so make sure you uncheck that box. Go ahead and click Next. And now we're going to give the zone a name, and I'm going to call this cyberoffense.com, and you're free to name your zone how it relates to your domain any way you wish. But when we're done here, you'll see how we're going to append www. to the cyberoffense.com, so make sure that you take that into consideration when you create your new zone. Go ahead and click Next. Go ahead and click Next. Accept the default, click Next, and click Finish. So now you see that we have two primary zones up here, but these four lookup zones, this first one is for my domain, and this one is going to be for the web server. With your new forward lookup zone selected, go ahead and right click inside of the center window pane, and we're going to create a new host record. We're going to call this new host record www, and we're going to give it the IP address of the server in which we install the IIS role-upon. Confirm your IP address as being correct and go ahead and click on Add Host, and you get a message that the host record has been successfully created. Go ahead and click on Done. Back at our new IIS server, we're now ready to check to see if we do have name resolution working correctly for this web server. Now the next thing we need to do is go ahead and bring up a command prompt, and we're going to attempt to ping that new host record that we created up inside of DNS to make sure that we have good name resolution. I'm going to hold down my Windows key. I'm going to hit R, brings up a run line. I'm going to type in CMD for command prompt, and at the command prompt I'm going to type in ping www.cyberoffense.com, and we'll see if it can resolve, and it does. I'm back over onto my domain controller. I'm going to use Internet Explorer to see if we can't resolve that web page and pick up that default document that we created earlier. Before I open up Internet Explorer, I want to make sure that this IE Enhanced Security configuration has been disabled. So make sure that you go inside of your server manager up underneath local server and check the radio button to turn that off. There's two radio buttons. Make sure you click them both. We can go ahead and minimize server manager, and we're going to click on the start button. We're going to go to Windows Accessory, and we're going to click on Internet Explorer, and from here we can either type in the IP address of the web server, or we can now go ahead and use the name of the web server, which is www.cyberoffense.com, and we should be able to get that default document that we created earlier. So I've typed in the name of our new IIS website. I'm going to go ahead and hit enter, and we see we get the default document. So we know that our IIS server is working, and we know that our default document is accessible. I'm back over on my new web server. I'm up inside of IIS Management Console, and we're going to create what's called a virtual directory. This time we're going to right click on our default website, and we're going to select from the context menu Add a Virtual Directory. Now this is something that I can use as a container to share out items on my network. We're going to call this intranet, and I can make as many of these virtual directories as I want. So if a group needs something that they can use so that they can collaborate, I could create them a virtual directory, make sure that they're the only ones that have access to it, and then they would be able to open up a browser and access this virtual directory just by going to our internal website. So let's go ahead and find a folder location for this new virtual directory that we're creating here. So I'm going to click on the Browse button. I'm going to open up my C drive. Up inside the C drive here, I'm just going to go ahead and right click, and from my context menu, I'm going to go to New Folder, and I'm going to call this new folder Intranet. And we're going to say OK. And from here, we can click on the Test button if we so desire, and you'll see that the authentication is working just fine. Now this authorization, that's always going to come up with that yellow triangle. Nothing to be concerned about. Go ahead and click close. Go ahead and click OK. And now we're going to return on over to our C drive, and we're going to put some content inside of our new intranet virtual directory. Once again, open up your File Explorer and then open up the C drive. And we're going to open up that intranet folder that we just created. And inside of this white area here, we're just going to right click and we're going to select new, and we're going to create another new text document. Now I'm going to call this new text document intranet. Now once I have the document created, I'm just going to go ahead and open it up. Inside this new default document, I'm just going to go ahead and type welcome to our intranet site. I'm going to go ahead and close it out. When prompted, I will go ahead and save the changes. I'm now going to close out my C drive, and I'm back at my IIS management console. So once again, we're going to change that default document that we're going to use for the intranet site. So make sure you have it highlighted, make sure you check it, and then you're going to go over to your default document, and in here you're going to click on add, and now you're going to give it the name of that default document that we created up inside of that intranet folder. So we've already got the default path to that intranet folder selected for this intranet site. So this default document is going to be found inside of that folder if everything is done correctly. Once you've got the correct name typed in, go ahead and just say OK. And you'll notice that that default document is now at the top of the selection. So now if we open up our default website and we go to the default document container, you'll see that we have one default document that is named one thing. And for our intranet site, if we go to the default documents, you'll see that we have another default document that is named something completely different. So that gives you the idea that both of these sites are being treated differently, and they are. I'm now back over on my DC1, and we're going to use that same browser, and we're going to test to see if we can bring up that virtual directory by just going up into the address bar, and we're going to add in the name of that virtual directory that we created called intranet. So I'm just going to type in intranet. Now if I hit enter, you'll notice that our message does change to let us know that we are now inside of that virtual directory up on our new IIS server. I'm back over here on our new web server, and I'm up inside of the IIS management console. What we're going to do now is we're going to create a new website, and we're going to use this one for people who want to place orders from the outside of our network. So we're going to right click on the sites container, and we're going to select add website. We're going to call this new site orders. We're now going to go down here where the physical path is located. We're going to click on that browse button, and as before, we're going to go to the C drive, and up here at the root of the C drive, we're going to right click and we're going to create a new folder, and we're going to call it orders. Go ahead and click OK to that. Now let's go ahead and browse back on over to our C drive, and again we need to create a new default document. So we're going to go into the local disk C. We're going to go into this new container that we created called orders. I'm going to right click, I'm going to go to new, I'm going to select text document, and I'm going to call this orders.txt. Make sure you only have one extension, and you again double check yourself. Make sure that box for showing file extensions is checked. Once you're certain you've got everything done correctly, go ahead and open up that default document we just created, and we're going to type in a new message, and this time we're going to say please place your orders here. Once you've ensured everything is spelled correctly, go ahead and close out that document. Go ahead and close out the File Explorer. Return back on over to your IIS management console, and we're going to change this port over to port 81 because we've already assigned port 80 to our default website, so we can only have one website assigned to a port at a time. Now we have to give this a host name. Now this host name is going to have to be unique. We've already used www.cyberoffense.com, so I'm going to call this orders.cyberoffense.com, just like that. And we're going to use HTTP. Now normally if this was an external website, I would have a certificate generated and we would select to use HTTPS, but we're not there yet. So we're going to go ahead and leave it as the default for HTTP, and we're going to change that port over to port 81. So when we're all done, we just click OK, and there's our new order site. So we can now go ahead and click on this new website, click on the name, and from the center window pane, go ahead and open up your default documents. And again, we have to assign that default document as the one we want this new order site to use when someone first accesses the order site. So let's go to Add. And again, we're going to type in the name of this new default document, which is orders.txt. Once you have the name correctly typed in, just go ahead and say OK. I'm back over on my DC1, and we're going to go back up inside of DNS, and we're going to create another host record inside of that new zone that we created for our website. So we're going to go to Tools. Again, we're going to open up DNS, and we're going to open up that container for our forward lookup zones. We're going to find that new zone that we created for our web server, and again, we're going to right click in here, and we're going to go to New Host Record, and we're going to call this Orders. And again, we're going to give it the IP address of our IIS server. Once we have that done, we're just going to click on Add Host, click OK, and we're done. I'm back over on my IIS server, and now we need to make a change to our firewall. So let's go up inside of our control panel, and from the control panel, we're going to select our firewall. And from here, go ahead and make that full screen. And from here, we're going to go to Advanced Settings, and we're going to go to Inbound Rules. So for our default website, we already had a default rule for port 80, which was allowing that HTTP traffic to come in on port 80. But now we have to add another inbound rule to allow that same HTTP traffic to come in on port 81. So we're going to go ahead and right click on Inbound Rules, and we're going to go to New Rules, and this is going to be a port. Move that up there a little bit so we can see what we're doing. We're going to go ahead and click Next, and we're going to use TCP, and we're going to specify the port as being port 81. We're going to click Next, and now we're going to allow the connection, and we're going to click Next. And here we're going to leave this as a default. We're going to leave those three boxes checked for domain, private, and public, and we're going to click Next. And now we have to give this new rule a name. So we're going to call this External. We'll just call it External Access. You can give it a description if you so desire, and we're going to click Finish. So we're now ready to test our new website's web page and see if it's working. So we've configured the firewall. We've got a new default document configured. And this time I've opened up my Windows 10 client, and I'm going to go to the Start button, and we're going to click on Internet Explorer. And from here, we're going to go ahead and we're going to type in the name of our new website, and we're going to do a little trick. We're going to have to select the port that we want this website to use. So we have to type in the name of the website, and at the end of the name we have to type in a colon, and we have to tell it to use port 81. And we can see that our new website is working because we have pulled up the new default document. That's going to conclude this short video presentation on how we go about creating an IIS website. Now, if you have any questions or concerns about anything that was covered in this short video presentation, please don't hesitate to reach out and contact your instructor, and I'll see you in my next video.